Episode 2, Aboard the Vogon ship. If you think hitchhiking on Earth is dangerous, try doing it in space. Arthur Dent never planned on being homeless, let alone becoming a hitchhiker on an alien ship. Having narrowly escaped the destruction of Earth, Arthur Dent found himself aboard a Vogon ship, an alien craft known more for its bureaucratic inefficiency than for its hospitality. Hitchhiking might have saved him, but survival was far from guaranteed.
Where are we?
Welcome aboard a Vogon constructor ship. Not exactly luxury travel, but it's better than floating in space, right?
Arthur Dent, still recovering from the shock of seeing his planet destroyed, had little time to process his new reality. The Vogons, an unpleasant and bureaucratic species, were infamous for their rigid and senseless rules. Hitching a ride on their ship was a stroke of luck. Or was it?
We've got to stay quiet and keep out of their way. The Vogons are notorious for their lack of empathy and their strict adherence to rules. If they catch us, there's no telling what they might do. We need to be as silent as possible and avoid any confrontation. Vogons aren't exactly known for their compassion, and they have a reputation for being extremely bureaucratic. They follow their rules to the letter, and any deviation is met with severe consequences. We must tread carefully, and we don't want them to notice us. If they do, we could be in serious trouble. Their patrols are frequent, and their senses are sharp. We need to blend into the shadows and move only when it's safe.
Notice us? What do you mean, notice us? Are they really that dangerous? I thought they were just bureaucrats. What do you mean, notice us? Can't we just explain the situation? Maybe they'll understand if we tell them what happened. Can't we just explain the situation? I mean, Earth was destroyed. Surely that counts for something. They must have some sense of justice or empathy, right? I mean, Earth was destroyed. Surely that counts for something. We're not just random stowaways. We've lost everything. Maybe they'll take pity on us.
Arthur, still clinging to his earthly logic, hadn't yet grasped the vastness of space or the indifference of its inhabitants. The universe was a cold, unfeeling place, and the Vogons were a prime example of this harsh reality. The Vogons, a species devoted to bureaucracy, cared little for the plight of two stray hitchhikers. Their primary concern was maintaining order and following protocol, no matter the cost.
What's that? What's happening? Is that an alarm? Are they coming for us?
Oh no, they've found us. The alarms mean they've detected our presence. We need to move quickly and find a place to hide. If they catch us, it's all over. Get ready for the worst, Arthur. This is it. We need to be prepared for anything. Stay close and follow my lead. We might still have a chance if we act fast and stay calm.
Attention hitchhikers. You have been found trespassing on a Vogon ship. This is a serious offense under Vogon law. As punishment, you will now be subjected to Vogon poetry. Prepare yourselves for an experience unlike any other.
Poetry? That doesn't sound so bad. I mean, how bad can poetry really be?
Oh, trust me, Arthur. You'll wish it was anything but poetry. Vogon poetry is infamous across the galaxy for a reason.
O freddled grunt bugly, thy micturations are to me as plurdled gabble blotchets on a lurgid bee. Group, I implore thee, my foonting turling drones.
Vogon poetry was widely regarded as the third worst in the universe. It was so bad that it could cause physical pain and mental anguish. Listening to it wasn't just unpleasant, it was a form of torture. The words seemed to twist and turn in the mind, creating a sensation of unbearable discomfort. Arthur, unaccustomed to the horrors of intergalactic art, was about to find out why. He had no idea what he was in for.
I can't take it anymore. Please make it stop. This is unbearable.
Just hold on. It'll be over soon. We just have to endure it a little longer. Think of something else, anything else.
The Vogons, a bureaucratic and callous race, took a perverse pleasure in subjecting their captives to their poetry. It was a method of control, a way to break the spirit of those who dared to defy them. The captain of the Vogon ship watched with a smirk as the hitchhikers squirmed and writhed in agony. To him, this was just another day at work. Arthur tried to focus on something else, anything to take his mind off the horrendous verses. He thought of Earth, of home, of anything that could provide a mental escape. But the relentless onslaught of Vogon poetry was too powerful. It invaded his thoughts, making it impossible to think of anything else. The words seemed to echo in his mind, each line more torturous than the last. He felt as if his brain was being twisted and turned inside out. The other hitchhikers were faring no better. They too were caught in the grip of the Vogons' poetic torture, each one struggling to maintain their sanity. It felt like an eternity, but finally the recitation came to an end. The room fell silent, but the echoes of the poetry lingered in their minds. Arthur and his companions were left exhausted, their minds numb from the ordeal. They had survived, but the experience had left its mark. The Vogon ship continued its journey through the stars, leaving behind a trail of broken spirits and tortured minds. For the hitchhikers, this was just the beginning of their intergalactic adventure. But the Vogons weren't finished with them yet. The air was thick with tension as Arthur and Ford realized the gravity of their situation. The Vogons, known for their bureaucratic ruthlessness and lack of empathy, had no intention of letting them escape easily. The cold, metallic walls of the spaceship seemed to close in on them, amplifying their sense of dread. If Arthur and Ford didn't act quickly, they'd be thrown out of the airlock. The countdown had begun, and every second felt like an eternity. They could hear the mechanical whirring of the airlock door, a sound that sent chills down their spines. The vast emptiness of space awaited them, a void that promised certain death.
Prepare to be ejected into the void of space. The Vogon guard's voice was devoid of any emotion, a stark contrast to the panic that gripped Arthur and Ford. The airlock loomed ahead, a gateway to their potential doom. The cold, unfeeling machinery of the Vogon ship was relentless, and there was no room for mercy. Thank you for listening to Vogon Poetry. The alien commander's voice crackled through the speakers, dripping with a twisted sense of satisfaction. Vogon poetry was notoriously awful, a form of torture in itself. The fact that this was their parting gift was a cruel joke, a final insult before their imminent demise. It was your last experience. The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. Arthur and Ford exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement of their dire circumstances. The realization that they might not survive this encounter was sinking in, but there was no time for despair.
Ford, what do we do? Arthur's voice trembled with fear, his mind racing for a solution. The walls seemed to close in on them, and the sound of the airlock door grew louder, more menacing. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast.
We improvise. Get ready to run. Ford's voice was steady, a beacon of hope in the chaos. He knew that their only chance of survival was to act quickly and decisively. There was no time for second-guessing. They had to trust their instincts and each other.
With seconds to spare, Ford had an idea. It wasn't a great idea, but it was their only option. The plan was risky, bordering on reckless, but desperate times called for desperate measures. They had to navigate the labyrinthine corridors of the Vogon ship, avoiding detection at all costs. It wasn't a great idea, but it was their only option. The stakes were high, and failure was not an option. As they prepared to make their move, the weight of their predicament pressed down on them. Every step, every breath, every heartbeat was a reminder of the thin line between life and death. The clock was ticking, and their escape was about to begin.
That was too close. What now?
We find an escape pod, and we get out of here before they realize we're gone.
Arthur Dent had only just begun to realize how bizarre and dangerous the universe really was. And this was just the start of his galactic misadventures. With their narrow escape, Arthur and Ford were now free, for the moment. But in a universe as strange as this, safety was never guaranteed. What will happen next to our reluctant hitchhikers? Find out in the next episode of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.